Joining us now is Stephen Silverman from the Campaign Against Antisemitism and Chief Executive of UK Lawyers for Israel, Jonathan Turner. Welcome both.
Stephen, to you first, what is your reaction to what you saw on Saturday?
Well, look, I think what we've seen is some serious flaws that exist at New Scotland Yard being exposed here. We've seen that Sir Mark Rowley, who has presided over the worst outbreak of anti-Semitism in London since records began, has implemented a policing strategy that protects those who would spread anti-Semitic hatred. We saw in the video that an innocent Jewish man was threatened with arrest, while those who were hurling abuse at him, calling him a Nazi, calling him scum, saying they were going to follow him around London, saying these things in close proximity to the police, were not threatened with arrest at all. They were just left to get on with it. We have seen from the response from New Scotland Yard initially an incredibly crass apology. And we've seen that the actual officers, the frontline officers themselves, have been put in a ridiculous and incredibly difficult position, which is why the officer who is focused on in that video falls into the trap of using highly inappropriate language.
Stephen, do you think Sir Mark Rowley's inertia is directly responsible for the explosion of anti-Semitism on our streets?
I think it is clear that the lack of proper enforcement during these marches, where we have had genocidal anti-Semitic chanting, calls for jihad and intifada, swastikas on display, images evoking medieval blood libel on display, people saying things like Hitler was right. The failure to enforce the law properly in those situations has emboldened those who wish ill harm to Jewish people, and is resulting in this increase in anti-Semitic hate crime that we are now seeing.
Jonathan Turner, we spoke earlier to Sir Robert Buckland, who's a former Justice Secretary. He's not on Suella Braverman's wing of the Conservative Party. He's on the One Nation left, if you like. But he said it's enough now of these marches. Probably Saturdays, because we get them every Saturday, should be called off. There's no need for any more. It's stretching police resources too much, and they are turning central London into a no-go area for Jewish people.
Well, that's right. First of all, I agree with everything that Stephen has just said, and also with what Suella Braverman has said. This is a question of balance. The freedom of expression and right to demonstrate, to express concern about government policy, about what's going on elsewhere and so on, that is all very important, but other people have rights too. And these anti-Israel marches and demonstrations have occupied a part of central London, an iconic part of central London, with numerous important buildings and art galleries and so on, for every Saturday for weeks on end. And I think this does need to be balanced against the rights of other people to visit these areas on Saturdays. And that balance has not been achieved. And I do think that enough is enough. One possibility would be for the police to require these demonstrations and marches to be held somewhere else, and allow people back into this area of central London at weekends in safety. Another possibility would be to call an end to them altogether. The police do have power.
Jonathan Turner, can I ask you, do you think that Mark Rowley feels that if he tries to stop the Palestinian protesters, there will be a riot and his police won't be able to cope with that?
Well, this is something that really does puzzle me, because there are 35,000 police officers in London, in the Metropolitan Police. That's not including ancillary staff. And yet these demonstrations are policed by 1,000, maybe 1,500 police. I don't understand why they can't have more police on the job. They don't have enough police to arrest the offenders. Sometimes they have to, it's reported that they have to de-arrest people that have been arrested and should be arrested. and should potentially be prosecuted because they don't have enough manpower on the street. And I think that is one of the, as far as it seems to me, that's one of the key strategic failures that has been made by the leadership of the Metropolitan Police. And the buck stops with Sir Mark Rowley. And that is one of the reasons why I think he should go. He's also lost the confidence of a large part of the Jewish community, which is important in this time of that there is a war in the Middle East, and therefore there are these tensions. I think it is very unsatisfactory that he's really lost the confidence of Jewish people, and it's a small minority, but a vulnerable minority. Even before the current war, you were 4 or 5 times more likely, you're a Jew in Britain, to be the victim of a hate crime. Now it must be more than that, because the hate crimes against Jews have increased several times since then.
Okay.
I think it really is some real change needs to be made.
All right, that's Stephen Silverman from the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism and the Chief Executive of UK Law Society, Jonathan Turner, talking about Sir Mark Rowley.